Okay, aloha, welcome. We've had a request for another video on how to cut down kite lines. So first you'll need to get yourself a set of lines that well, preferably you don't want to keep long anymore. So if you have a secondary bar that you want to cut down, that is ideal, because I find it's always better to have a complete short line bar ready to go rather than having one bar and one set of lines that you're adding extensions to and taking off constantly. But either way you want to do it, you can also buy short line bars sometimes. It used to be more popular in kiteboard brands, but now it's more of a rare thing. So to cut down the lines, it's a fairly simple procedure. The first thing you want to do is true your bar. So if you don't know how to do that, there's probably other videos on how to do that. But what you're going to be doing is getting all of your 4 kite lines together exactly the same distance. So if I can put a screwdriver through them, and then you're going to tie them to a fixed point, like to a tree or something like that. Stretch your lines, make all the adjustments at the bar end to get those lines true and exactly the same length. Okay, so true the bar, because kite lines stretch over time, not slip, and what have you. So once you have the bar that you're cutting down trued, we're just going to be measuring from the amount we want to cut off from the far end, from the kite's end, back down the lines. So you might be going back, cutting down a 20 meter set of lines to 10 meters or to 15 meters, let's just say 15. You're going to take 5 meters back. Okay, and then keep in mind that when we do the splice on the end, we're going to lose a little bit of length, but don't let that worry you. So, keeping the tension on the lines, keeping the lines attached to the tree or the anchor point, have tension on the lines. I measure back the distance, and you want to keep these lines exactly the same, and then you're going to get your marker pen, and you're going to mark right across those 4 lines, and you're actually going to do, I find it's best to do 3 dots on there. So you're going to be doing 3 points on there, about 6 inches apart. Maybe 4 inches apart. But the first mark you make is where the lines, that's going to be the ultimate length. So you're going to go back here. Let's just do one line at a time. And I like to work with at least a foot. So here we go, 30 centimeters of line. Okay, is the extra bit I'm going to be using. So here, the first mark. On these lines. Okay. First mark would be here. It's the cut mark. 6 inches back. Another mark. 6 inches behind that. The third mark. That'll do. So, with your lines marked out the same way on all 4 lines, you're ready. You're going to cut that line right there with your sharp scissors, and you're going to cut it right at the first knot, first point. Boom. You're going to end up with 4 raw ends, exactly the same length. They've all got the marks on them already, because now the tension's off the lines, so it's going to be very difficult to remeasure those later. Okay, so now you've cut your lines. You're wondering what else to do. Well, obviously you need your sharp scissors, your ruler. There's a couple of other tools that are good to have, like a scalpel or a blade, and I like a blunt sewing machine, knitting needle. You can use other things if you have to. And you will need something to thread the kite line through. This is a splicing tool, which not everybody has, like for rope work. You can use fishing line, or you can use a bit of this wire from the craft store. I think this one's used for flower arranging. I make my own tools with that. This is real handy stuff to have. It's actually my favorite tool, is this little piece of cheap wire. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put an I-splice in the end of these lines, like this, and we're going to end up with a loop that we can attach to our lines. Now what are we replacing? We're replacing 2 loops and 2 knots. Okay, so if you start off with 4 loops, you can always just turn a loop into a knot very easily. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. I'm going to change that a little bit. Between the 2nd and the 3rd knot, we'll just do a little 3-inch hole there. 3-inch mark. Okay, so this is your cut knot, this is your bending knot. This is the halfway, the 3 inches, and then this is that one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the rope, the line itself, and thread the end back down through here. So how do we do that? Well, this is a hollow braid, so what we're going to do is come down to our last knot there and push those lines together. It kind of expands. And I'm going to get my tool here, the blunt tool. And one way to do it, you just go flat down. Poke a hole through. You can poke a hole all the way through if you want. I kind of bend it back. And I'm going to try and get the end down the middle of the line. So keep it loose. And open that up a little bit. Then my next tool goes down inside. And it is easier with new line, because old line has been really compacted down and stretched. There we go, starting to go down. Alright, that one's a little tough to get started, but once you're started, it slides on. Now the trick is to push the line on. Don't try and pull it on, because that makes it tighter. Push it on. We're going to go all the way down here. We're going to come out the next hole. Again, just kind of like keep it loose. See how it popped out there? Okay. Now at this end, this is where the scalpel comes in. What we're going to try and do is we're going to fray this end of the kite line, because we're making it thinner. So kind of like want to unpick that. This tool's actually equally as good for that. Okay, see how I'm unbinding that, unthreading the end? Get it all fluffy. Go back about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 2 centimeters. All right, and I've got that frayed, fanned out bit of the line. I can go in here and I can cut half those strands short. So if I've done that enough. And this will make your scissors blunt real quick. Okay, let's go a little bit. Okay, so this frayed end of the line we put back through the loop with your fishing line or your wire or your tool. Through there. And the idea is you fold it back on itself. But because we cut it down, it's not so thick. And now the trick is to suck it back down through this line. And I'm going to push it on to this line like a tube. Oh, it's going in. Slowly, slowly. I'm going to pull it up until I get this middle knot, this middle mark right here. Stepping straight back. It's already come off my tool. No problem, because it's already through. There we go. So we have the open part. This is exact. This knot was the exit. This was the entry. And now I'm just going to... You can see right now it slides, so I can adjust it very easy. But now we're going to tension it down. Actually, this little bit will probably disappear all the way in. Okay. If it doesn't, you can pull it out and cut it off. So there we go. So that is a nicely spliced end. Okay. Now, I would have liked that a little bit longer, but we're going to go back and probably sew along here. You don't have to, there's other ways you can do it. But now we've got a loop on the end of the kite line, and that's real strong, and you can use it like that. No problem at all. There's no real need to sleeve these ends. Some people do. The factory has sleeved ends, but for our purposes, we don't need to. And then if you need to do a lark's head, you can just tie that in the end. Boom. Or if you need to tie a knot, because you want to have a knot in the end, you can do that also. And then you have a set of kite lines. So this is only 3 inches long right now. I might want to have it a little bit longer. I could just stitch that. That will be as strong as you need. Or I could even do like a double splice and make that extra long with no need for stitching. So there you have it. A quick tutorial on how to cut down and splice loops into the end of your kite lines. Hopefully this is helpful. Any more questions? Leave them in the comments and we can always do another video. Take care and aloha.